looking deep down the left side. Mendeville into the end zone. Touchdown!
Down the sideline, still Foley to the house.
And the players streaming from the sideline to celebrate with 17 seconds left.
Welcome, everybody, back to BVarsity Live. I am Trevor Horn here in the downtown TBC studios in beautiful Bakersfield, California. I am once again all alone because my boss, your buddy, Zach Ewing, decided that he loved New York City so much that he wanted to spend an extra 2 days in town before he came home to us and sightsee and go to Hoboken and Ground Zero and do all those great and fine things. But, you know, out of all that time that he spent in New York City, Zach decided to join us on the phone. Zach, how are you?
It's very gracious of me, if I do say so myself.
At how much time is how much do you have left on your phone right now? How much time do we have with you?
You know, it was still 9% when you called, so I think we're okay for a few minutes here.
So how was that planning? You woke up this morning in Manhattan. You decided to do a little sightseeing, and you didn't pre-plan for this, or what happened?
Well, I kind of thought I'd be back by now. It's 5 o'clock here, and I kind of thought, oh yeah, I left the hotel at about 11 in Midtown Manhattan, went down to the 9/11 Memorial, went to the top of the Freedom Tower, which is the new tower, went down, took a few pictures of the Statue of Liberty, took a picture of the statue of the girl who is facing down the charging bull on Wall Street, which is a very good spot. And then I've stopped in Greenwich Village to try out this new place that serves cookie dough as if it's ice cream. And that's where I kind of got stuck because the train station's real busy. I didn't want to get in the train station and not have a signal to get back to Midtown and all those sorts of things. So I'm just waiting it out here in Greenwich Village.
Zach, you haven't been to Bakersfield much over the last 2 weeks because you've been traveling and following around with the Cal State Bakersfield men's basketball team. Kind of just give us what you saw through that trip to Colorado, down to Dallas, back here for a few days, and then back out to New York City to watch them play in the Final Four in the NIT.
I mean, it ranks up there with anything as unbelievable as I've seen in my career. It just, you know, for one thing, it gives you a sense of what these guys deal with travel-wise. Now, they don't plan out their own trips and have to stay in different hotels every night and things like that like I have, but they've, you know, it is exhausting to have to go Bakersfield to L.A. to Denver to Dallas, back to L.A., back to Bakersfield, and then L.A. and New York, all in the span of a few days. So that's very difficult. But, you know, as far as the games, boy, they just showed up to play 3 times in a row, beat 3 really good teams on the road, and it was fun to watch them kind of enjoy the wave there, where they were able to just, find a way to win these games and get attention and really grow the program as much as possible.
In your mind, what happened in the Final Four against Georgia Tech? Was it just kind of, you know, the magic just got lost in the moment, or what was it in your eyes?
A little bit of that. I mean, I think they certainly shot the ball from 3-point range above their head for 3 games against Cal and Colorado State and UT Arlington, and then that wore off. You know, if they shoot the ball on Tuesday night like they did in those previous games, they're right there at the end and maybe beat Georgia Tech. And so that wore off, and that just you hate to call it a fluke, but teams go through ups and downs, and they just had a 3-game stretch where it was the best 3-game stretch they had shooting the ball all year long, and that normalized a little bit. And they shot the ball poorly on Tuesday night, and so that happened. Georgia Tech's a very good athletic team. You have to give them some credit. They were really able to push the ball up the floor and get easier baskets. Cal State does not give up very much from 2-point range, and Georgia Tech was able to get it before CSUB could set its defense. So that you got to give them credit for that. And then, like you said, just at some point the magic was going to wear off, and I'm actually going over to Madison Square Garden tonight to see Georgia Tech play TCU in the NIT final, and then I fly out about 4 or 5 hours after the game.
With that, I mean, but isn't that why we call it March Madness? When you look at Cal State, and they're kind of the NIT version of South Carolina, and that's why we gravitate to this. That's why we love it as a nation so much. It's because you get that Cinderella slipper on the right foot, and it just runs.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, and South Carolina is a good story, and they were unlikely, but at the same time, that's an SEC team, a big conference team with a lot of money and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I don't know how much you can call an SEC team a Cinderella, no matter who they are.
I'd call
and
Missouri
so,
is in that conference, so anybody could be called
true.
a Cinderella.
Well, Missouri went 8-23 or something, and then signed the number one player in the nation. So that's never been done before either. But my point is, the NCAA tournament this year, there really wasn't.
You're something else.
There really wasn't a Cinderella. I mean, I don't think you count Gonzaga anymore. I don't think you count Xavier anymore. Those teams have been to this level so many times. Gonzaga never to the Final Four, but they're one of maybe the best team in the country. They're not a Cinderella.
Right.
So the NIT, Cal State Bakersfield, and the NIT was the Cinderella of March. And I don't know how many people paid attention to the NIT, but those who did, I think, recognized that and sort of said, yeah, this is a really, really good story.
I think everybody kind of looks at the NIT as kind of the second round, but you get a lot of great storylines out of it, and Cal State happened to be that one this year, of a team that went one and done against Oklahoma last year after winning the WAC title, much like New Mexico State did this year, but then they get in the NIT and they get 4 games on ESPN and get a little bit more exposure. One last thing before we move into the high school sports, and I'd be remiss to say if we didn't have the Stockdale track and field team in here. Your buddy Dave Longsinger is in the green room right now, and he's got 3 of his standouts, Marcus Moda, Aisha Ham, and Leah Wilson, hanging out, and they'll be in here on the second segment. But when you look at Cal State, how much did Madison Square Garden playing 4 times on ESPN really help the program when you lose, 5 seniors, 4 seniors, but you bring in 2 locals, Justin McCall, and then Darren Pearson up at Emmanuel? What's next?
That's the million-dollar question. I mean, Ziggy Siegfried, the athletic director at Cal State, said that sort of exposure is worth millions and millions of dollars. I don't know how you monetize it to an exact amount, really, but there is no doubt. I mean, how many people around the country knew that there was a Cal State Bakersfield, much less where it was or what their colors were or that they had a basketball team or anything like that until,
that they were Division I, too. When you think about it.
Let's go back 2 years. I mean, making the NCAA tournament, kind of giving Oklahoma a scare for about 37 minutes of that game, and then this NIT run on top of it. A lot more people know who they are now. That's going to help in recruiting. It's going to help just with general admissions to the school. It's going to help with alumni donations. I mean, it will bring in a lot of money for them. Whether it's a game changer or not, I think remains to be seen. We'll see how much they can build on this momentum. Next year will be a big year for them. They did lose a terrific senior class. They're going to have some guys really improve and step up. Damian Durham has to become more consistent as the number 1 scorer on the team. They've got to have guys to step up to play the kind of defense that Justin Pride and Matt Smith played. And then Jalen Arrington, the program had not seen a leader like him since it was winning D2 national titles in the 1990s. So they're going to have to replace him, too. I don't know that freshmen can step into those roles. But besides the 2 you mentioned, they also bring in the player of the year in Mississippi, so some talent coming in. I do think as long as they have Rod Barnes here, and who knows how long that will be, but as long as Rod Barnes is here, they will be competitive because he can get kids to improve, and he coaches the tough, hard-nosed defense that keeps you in games.
And I think that's the one thing that we all have to kind of just sit and wait and, just hope that Barnes doesn't leave after this because he is going to be a hot commodity, obviously. So we put winter sports finally to bed now. I know we said that a week and a half ago. In prep sports, but now it's official with Cal State gone. So we move on. We've had a lot of great action. And in baseball, Zach, I mean, when you look at it, we thought Stockdale was going to be the number 1 team running away in the SWIL. Then Liberty walks in with Easton McMurray on the mound, and they beat them 3-1 on Monday. And now Stockdale is tied with Garces at 3-1 in league. And Garces, a team that we thought was just hitting the ball, is starting to pitch well, too. So it's really interesting to see how that all transpires. In the SYL, Ridgeview undefeated, but they got Tehachapi and Independence right on their heels. Independence, obviously, 2-headed monster at on the mound. Kevin Larson, who's headed to Fresno State, he's getting back into baseball shape. Kevin Holcomb threw a no-hitter against West last week for the Falcons. North 3-0 in the SEYL. Miramonte and Highland 2-1. And then a game that we'll have on BVarsity Nightly next week, Arvin and Wasco both undefeated in the SSL and both hitting the ball really well. I know you haven't really kind of jumped on the spring sports bandwagon, but, what have you kind of gravitated to so far, if anything?
One thing that surprises me, or at least is noteworthy to me, I don't know that it surprises me, is Stockdale's softball team. We've been saying for years, look, they're good and they're young. They're going to be really good in a couple of years, and we're seeing the fruition of that, where this is a state-ranked team and a Max Preps, I believe, a nationally ranked team. They're really, really good. And then in baseball, Stockdale gets beat by Liberty the other day, but look, it's very difficult in baseball to go undefeated and unscathed. Buchanan has won a national title a couple of times in the last few years because they have been able to do that. But I think that's the exception and not the rule. I mean, even Buchanan was behind the other night against Clovis High, came back and won that game 5-4, but it was a game they easily could have lost.
Right.
Does that mean they're all of a sudden, if they lose that game, are they not the section favorite? I don't think so. I just think on a given night in baseball, it's very difficult for one good team to always beat another good team.
Yep, 100%. But that Stockdale softball team is really incredible. We had them in studio a couple weeks ago, and you just see that team, and they got a freshman in the circle, and then her sister Cheyenne Hornbuckle, that's Sydney Hornbuckle, and then Cheyenne Hornbuckle's at second base, Haley Hutton at short, Vanessa Barron over at third. Their outfield is stout. They got a sophomore head of University of Maine and Izzy Nieblis at first base. I mean, that is a team that could go undefeated going into the playoffs, and it'd be really interesting to see Stockdale again. I mean, like second year in the row, and Zach, you've been here 9 years. How many times do we say this? Stockdale is the place to be when it comes to spring sports. The boys golf team is the top team in town. The track and field team's one of the top teams in the state. And then we've also got their tennis team. Boys tennis team is now undefeated. Swimming is always right up there. In your mind, what have you seen out of Stockdale that makes it such a heavy favorite in spring sports year in and year out?
Well, I think you start with coaching. I mean, of the sports you mentioned, I actually think the swimming and tennis programs used to be even stronger, especially swimming. They're still very good in everything else, but they've had terrific coaches. Dave Hillstead's been there a long time as the tennis coach. Amanda Hockett, and before her, Shannon Nieblis, great softball coaches. The baseball coaches, it was Dan Lemon, but the Showers have been there, either Greg or Brad or both of them now since the school opened. And so it's that consistency, and of course Dave Lonsinger with the track program, terrific. You got to have the athletes, and they do. And I know there are going to be people who say, "Oh, these are country club sports, and Stockdale's a country club school," and that's what it's owed to. But and there may be some truth to that, but I really do think you start with the coaching.
Yep. All right, Zach, go have fun. Try to get on a train, go back to your hotel, charge up your phone. Hope you don't get lost.
All right, guys, I'm looking forward to the warm weather. I'll be home tomorrow.
All right, see you tomorrow, Zach. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, we'll be back. Stockdale track and field team in studio. We got a whole bunch, so let's have some fun. We'll be right back.